And we are back. Looking like it all's hanging together. It's always a positive. And apologies for our technical difficulties. But hopefully all working out in order. Tennis Berta returning to come and have a chat. Steven Vessels currently leads out the pack, and he's got Jonas Konstantin chasing him down for second place. Jean Jens van Rensburg holds third place along with Malcolm Pringle. Jacques Seber trying to make up some time. Jonas Konstantin leading out the Pro-Ams. Will be hoping to charge his way through. Robbie Teens in a little bit of a brawl. He's trying to catch onto the back of Arno Kraus. He looks around the outside, puts the hammer down, and unfortunately the Ferrari just not quite getting the legs out of the corner. Will have to try and get back into the slipstream to give it everything he's got. Duncan Roderick hanging in for the charge as well. Michael Donaldson up into second place. Now tries to open up the drive away from Yasin Ismail. They have just joined for this race. 80 minutes around Le Mans, 1 hour and 20 minutes of pure out-and-out racing for our drivers to make it work out in their favor. During a little bit of downtime, we did have a few drivers running into a little bit of a problem. One of them being Willem Pinot going and landing up into the weeds. Needs to get some work done on his car. Daniel Gilding, let's take a look back at what happens here. Into the wall at the Porsche curves, smashed up that rear. They do have one replacement car they can utilize to work out and get going yet again. A couple of drivers having a different time to go and get themselves back on circuit. Not a time to give up the ghost. Quinton Costa being one of those drivers who had a problem early on, now looking to finish out this race. Unfortunately, Stephen Cakebread and Werner Schumann out of the race. Willem Pinot back on the circuit. Daniel Gilding still putting in a good charge as well. As we head back up through the sharp end of the field, it is Jonas Konstantin keeping ahead of Jean Jens van Rensburg. Malcolm Pringle staying on the back of him, trying to figure out where is this pass going to be available to get past the likes of Jens van Rensburg, considering they are fighting for the Pro Championship. As they keep the pressure on Malcolm Pringle, Jean Jens van Rensburg, as they give it everything they got. Late under braking. Jonas going to be happy with the pace that he's got at the moment. Donaldson trying to get the position back from Yasin Ismail. That Porsche getting on rails and pulling a little bit more of a distance at the moment. Continues to try and drive our life a little bit further back. Yes, and Mai loses out to Paul Gerber under braking. Was able to just swing that Mercedes in, carry the momentum through, and now Yaz down into 16th position and 13th in class. Has got Loic Randabel keeping the pressure on the back of him. Loic looks for the inside line, couldn't quite get the drive just as yet. Aiming for turn 1. It's a left-hander to try and go late on the brakes. He aims for the pass, sinks it in rather deep, nearly loses out in the corner. Yaz backs off. So Yaz backing out of it. Noah Hendricks, his teammate, now looking to try and keep on that charge. Tim Penny goes and keeps in the mix as well, down in 15th position of his class, but is still not giving up the fight. Wesley Lewin gets a drive onto the Mozon straight, trying to catch up to Jason Krinkers up ahead, hoping to get that pass clean and done. Still some hard chase, some hard pushing from each of our drivers. Joshua Syme, the defending champion for the Pro-Ams, now side by side with Robbie Teens, who's not going to back out of this one. Robbie's going to try and close up the gap, gets into the slipstream, switches to the inside, showing a bit of nose there, saying, listen, you're not going to get away from me. I'm going to keep the pressure on. I'm going to lean on that inside, a little bit of a bump draft to get it working in his favor. Is it going to work? Down towards the first chicane down the Mozon. He backs out of it, not wanting to get that pass done just as yet, rather to wait it out. Joe Gerber waits for any opportunity to get his climb back through the field. Arno Kraus dealing with a bit of a problem behind him. Dina Machai along with Etienne Swart still keeps up that solid pace and wanting to break ahead. Steven Wessels, Malcolm Pringle, and John Jans van Rensburg all getting past the Pro-Am leader, Jonas Constantine, down into 4th place and leaving our pros to duke it out with one another. Cameron Bastos tries to keep ahead of Jacques Ever with Janneman Price, his teammate, trying to close up the distance behind him. Janneman's dealing with an old friend, Yassine Ismail, who knows his driving style. He knows what he needs to do and continue on his fight. Each of the drivers hoping for a bit of advantage here. Now, 1 hour and 20 minutes is always a tough time indeed. But, like what we see on with our ACC, 45 minutes is the mark to get into the pits, get yourself sorted, and go out. These drivers have got literally 14 minutes on the halfway mark, 45 minutes, to ensure they get their pit stop done, change all 4 tires, and get going. If you're going to push a little bit further on, you are going to be on some seriously cold tires to deal with. And as the track temperature starts to plummet further and further at the moment, it's 19 degrees track surface, and this is only going to get worse and worse as the drivers go on, as it gets darker and darker out there. Each of the drivers will be thinking what is going to be the game plan here, especially when you're in chase. Take it from Sergei Sarkov at the moment, who is battling with Jaco van der Lit just ahead of him. As we jump onto the rollbar cam, we can see exactly how dark it is getting out there and how they have to concentrate just that little bit more, avoiding slowdowns, avoiding getting those X's built up. That will give them a drive-through penalty during the course of the race. Not what you want to have, as you want to be the least amount of time in the pits. You want to keep yourself on the top of your game and not be caught out in any problems on the charge through. 9 seconds separating our Pro-Am leader to likes of 2nd place of the Pro-Am. A lot of room to be given there from Rensburg, trying to get the climb a little bit closer and dealing with every little bit of chase. Now, John Jans van Rensburg's got Michael Pringle ahead of him. Try to look for the inside line. Couldn't quite get that pass done just as yet. Will have to just wait a little bit more. And Van Rensburg aims just to see Malcolm Pringle starting to get that climb, and will have to deal with the likes of Jonas Constantine out there in the BMW, giving a lot of chase. The driver all the way out from Romania, taking on the South Africans, looking to really keep the pressure in. Closes right onto the back of that Acura that doesn't quite have the straight line to defend as hard as he would like, but he is going to brake a lot later and utilize the rotation on that mid-engine to keep him just ahead of the pack. Jonas Constantine unfortunately couldn't do much there other than sit, watch, and wait for his opportunity to come by. We're getting further reports that Duncan Roderick has had a problem. So Duncan Roderick off into the grass, trying to bring it back. Robbie Teen's next to him. A little bit of side-on contact. Getting onto Mozon. He's able to straighten up and into the wall she goes. Duncan Roderick with a lot of front-end damage to his car after that little bit of a shoulder touch to the likes of Robbie Teens. He was offline. He rejoined, caught Robbie Teens on the side, and that was it. Game, set, match. Bastos in a bit of no man's land. Steven Wessels can't pull away, but our top two is Malcolm Pringle and John Jans van Rensburg fighting out for their class position. They do have Constantine going to fight it out down in first place of the Pro-Ams, but not wanting to just get a class victory. He's wanting to get the outright victory. He's got a lot of hard work, however, as Steven Wessels has checked out the fight and is cleared second and third place, leaving these three to roll it out a little bit further on. It's all about trying to carry the momentum here. Who is going to save enough tires? Who's going to save enough fuel for this race? Well, with the likes of Constantine going out a bit wide there, so did the likes of Malcolm Pringle, the BMWs, facing a bit of understeer early on into the races. We haven't even hit 20 minutes as yet, but each of the drivers going and dealing with their own little demons at the moment. Sergei Sarkov keeps the pressure on to Jaco van der Lith, who's trying to catch up to his teammate, the Team SBR. Jaco van der Lith hoping to get a little bit closer to Jacques Evert to get pulled along. However, he's got a little bit of work ahead of him. Yasin Ishmael, second place of the Pro-Am, just ahead in that Porsche. Not going to be backing down from the fight. Sergei Sarkov continues to try and find any kink in the armor. Look left, look right, can't get it done. We'll have to wait yet again for a little bit more pace, a little bit more time to just try and accelerate. But another driver I do want to talk about, George Rez, who is climbing his way back up towards the top. Now, George is one of our top running contenders. The W2W had a stunning race. However, in round one, it was all about scoring points. This time round, he was starting from pit lane. He was not able to get the car out to where he wanted it to be, and he has so far gained 19 positions thus far during the course of this race. We are getting reports that there is a bit of a problem for the Omnis Gaming Michael Donaldson, who is trying to limp this Ferrari back to pit lane after having a bit of a problem with the car early on. Oh, just does a bit of a spin in front of the field. And what exactly happened to it? So this is down the Mozon straight into the hairpin. And Donaldson having the rear a little bit out of shape. Oh, a bit of contact. And that was all she wrote. Thud into the wall and damage to the car. Donaldson being assisted into the wall there, and that just further added to his pain. But who on earth did he have contact with? That's when he got him straight into the wall. Taking a look, that might have been one of his best friends, actually, Loic Randabel, all the way from Mauritius, that went and looked for the inside line, tapped him on the rear, and stuck him in the wall. That is a conversation I would not like to be in, as it's definitely going to be a bit of finger wagging on one another. Two teammates going in, landing up, putting each other out of shape, and unfortunately compromising the one. Will get a false repair to get the car back out, but now is on the back foot during the course of the race. 20 minutes has passed. These cars can run on an hour with a full tank, so he's going to have to utilize that to keep the momentum up throughout the race. Joshua Syme getting in position and side by side with Jan Engelbrecht. Late on the anchors, trying to get to work out in his favor. Joshua just battling out, and Engelbrecht continues on the charge. And what a race indeed for these two. You're going to be finding out now. Joshua, as I said, is a driver, defending Pro-Am champion, down in 4th place. Wesley Lewin is his target further up the road. Side by side they go. Engelbrecht has got the advantage around the inside. The McLaren carrying a lot of momentum through. Joshua having to back out of it. The Snail's Pace Racing team going to be coordinating efforts at the moment to see where exactly they can get the run. Where can they go? Arno Kraus and Do Herber starting to play with one another. And oh, just talking about that, Kraus losing the car. Contact with the likes. What's that? Duncan Roderick that he had the contact with. Arno Kraus, unfortunately, having a bit of a problem there. We're going to try and take a look what exactly happened. Who was on the back of him? Oh, contact. That looks to be another BMW down in 36th position. Who on earth he had that contact with is definitely going to be the question there, as that is some serious pain to the car. Unfortunately, going and putting Arno Kraus into a little bit of rough stead. Those drivers try and figure out the pace. Still some impacts happening out on the circuit where they're not going to be too keen on. Jaco van der Lith, the Sergei Sarkov continue on their charge. Yasin Ishmael trying to really get the hammer down as fast as possible to just hope to get the momentum. Etienne Swart landing up with a bit of a problem. Let's cut the look to him all by him lonesome, unfortunately. Diving in towards Indianapolis. Oh, bottom the car out. Huge impact against the right-hand wall and smashes the rear little bit further on. That is going to be a big one for the BMW, and that is Etienne Swart, the Altered Carbon, now into pit lane, getting some work. Both Etienne Swart and Werner Swart in the pits, getting work done to their cars. The brothers going to be looking at each other down pit lane, trying to explain what on earth happened. What did they feel? What happened to their race? Duncan Roderick trying to catch up. And there is Arno Kraus into the weeds. And Duncan Roderick getting the pass done and dusted. Duncan Roderick trying to just swing the BMW back into the fray. And wants to get right ahead because here comes Dino Machai looking to try and take the position back. Dino out there for the Slowpoke Sim Racing team continues to try and close down the distance. So out in the top, Steven Vessels holds first place overall, and in class, Malcolm Pringle down in second place has got the likes of Cameron de Bastos on the back of him. Cameron, from initially starting out in first place, unfortunately couldn't hold that pace as Steven Vessels and Malcolm Pringle made quick work of him. And Steven Vessels has opened up the gap. Now Malcolm Pringle, after starting side by side with Cameron de Bastos, will push as hard as he can, but has got John Jans van Rensburg for a bit of company. As they power their way through, Wesley Lewin down in third place of the Pro-Am. Keeps pressure on Tim Penny. He's got Yaz Senmai in that Audi R8 GT3 Evo. And Tim Penny in the Chevrolet, trying to close the distance between them. Try and see where he can get that little bit more of an advantage. And it's good to see drivers having a bit of fun out there, really pushing as hard as they can. It's not over till the fat lady sings, they always say. And these drivers are trying to make it work. Quinton Costa trying to make his time out on the circuit. Is running a little bit further back in 32nd position. Etienne Swart, unfortunately, out. Jakob Kutzer out of the race, is in the pits, along with Dino Machai into pit lane. Bit of work being done on them. And Dino having some serious contact that went and smashed him out. And we saw the car just lying with a wing off in pit lane as drivers continue to fight their way out. But Steven Vessels clearing out ahead of the drivers. And now Cameron de Bastos fights for second place against Malcolm Pringle. Looked around the outside, no room to get it done. John Jans van Rensburg closing up the distance as well. Fourth in class and trying everything he can. Jonas Constantine we'll see in his mirrors. Jacques Sever and Janeman Price trying to close up that distance. But there is Yasin Ishmael, second of the Pro-Ams, right in for the taking. And looking to fight his way through. Around on the inside, Cameron de Bastos gets to the head of Malcolm Pringle. But can the BMW defend against John Jans van Rensburg through the Porsche curves? He does. A little clip of the wall there. That's going to compromise his time. It's going to compromise the pace on the way through. But it looks like Cameron has cleared it. And now Malcolm Pringle has to set his eyes firmly to the back as John Jans van Rensburg continues to try and close out the distance. Continues to fight his way around and wants to get back into the podium positions on the way of this race. Still plenty of time left for drivers to start thinking about when these pit stops are going to happen. When can they get themselves sorted and get themselves back out on track? Some great racing nonetheless. Wesley Lewin trying to get the movement forward for the CSA team and getting a chase down by Noah Hendricks as they go after Tim Penny a little bit up the road, who is attacking Yasemai into the chicane, gets ahead. Very brave from both drivers. Well done to Tim to get it ahead of the Audi R8, but now Yaz has got to look back, sees Wesley Lewin keeping the pressure on, look towards the inside line, not able to get that pass just as yet. Now Sergei Sarkov gets into pit lane, so he's getting a pit stop done and dusted. And so is Sean Symes and Arno Kraus returning to the circuit after all their problems. Wesley Lewin allowing Noah Hendricks by, doesn't want to get caught out in the mix. He has set his eyes towards the likes of Joshua Syme, a little bit further back in the field. but running 4th in class. Malcolm Pringle now all over the back of Jean-Jens van Rensburg. He lost out that little bit of drive from the likes of Jean-Jens van Rensburg. Lost out the position, now needs to figure out what is going to be the game plan here. How can they close up a distance? We are getting further reports of Eugene Berryman. This is what happened to him out there in the Porsche. The 97 just gets a snap oversteer, and unfortunately, big impact in the wall. Front suspension getting caught out, and having to just stop the car, tow it back to pits. Not ideal circumstances in through turn 1. That right-hander is a very deceptive corner. You have to just try and feather the throttle through. If you got more aero, like the LMP2s, like the GTPs, you can make it work. But for the GT3s, it's a little gentle lift. Let the car go and tuck itself in. But if it gets a little bit too much grip, it will continue to pull to the right. Any snap on the steering will instantly put you into the wall. Sergei Sarkov out of pit lane, drops down into 25th position and continues to further fall down. 36.8 seconds in the box. Remember, they do have to change their tires before they can carry on. So each of the drivers will be thinking about that. Burn the life out of these tires. Continue to push as hard as you can, because you're going to get a fresh set out there. You're going to fresh set to move forward, as we see Jean-Jens van Rensburg continue on his chase. And honestly, great run for him, coming out from the National Dirt Oval scene this past weekend, and had a great time out on the circuit. Now keeps an eye on Jonas Constantine on the back of him. Malcolm Pringle continues to fight it out as well. Still lots and lots of room to be made here. Second place, Yassin Ismail, now 10 seconds off the back of Constantine. Wesley Lewin, 28 seconds off the back of that, as they try to figure out what is going to be the game plan here. What do they need to do to really dial it out and get these cars going? And who's going to go for those late pit stops? I do want to point out, fastest lap time of the race thus far has been set by George Reyes in the dark with a 3:54.3 in that Ferrari. He's gained 23 positions since the start of the race. He started right at the back, unfortunately wasn't able to get going, and now just tries to get the climb back up through the field. The SMI and Tim Penny still continue their fight with one another, lying so far 12th and 13th in class position, 14th and 15th overall. SMI all the way up from South Africa, taking on the UK of Tim Penny, who has got quite a reputation in the world of motorsport, knows how to keep the pace, knows what he needs to do. But SMI, also very, very technically minded, will be starting to go back to the number crunching, seeing when exactly he needs to get in the pits. Getting reports of yellow flags for DMHI. Let's see what happened. This is down the main straight at Mozon, late braking. And did he just completely miss the brake marker? Yes, he did. Slows the car down just before the tire wall and has to just take the little escape road. That's going to cost him a bit of time, but kept it all together. The yellow flags coming out. Jacques Ever going and running into a bit of a problem. Oh, snap oversteer from the Mustang, chucking him into the dirt and causing him to drop right down into 7th place. Not ideal circumstances for some. For others, it's plenty of fun. Out here in the dark, 32 minutes have gone by in this hour and 20-minute race for round 2 of the RaceFace.Pro iRacing GT3 Championship. And each of the drivers now looking to dig that little bit deeper, looking to fight their way forward. As we go back up towards the top, this is Jean-Jens van Rensburg feeling the pressure from Jonas Constantine, looking for the inside line. The BMW has got the drive, and now Malcolm Pringle just waiting for his opportunity to get on past. Side by side they go. Jonas tries to slip across the front of Jean-Jens van Rensburg, who has to give that position. Will have to think about what's the next strategy. Carries a lot of momentum through to get ahead of Malcolm Pringle, but now needs to firmly go back on the attack of the likes of Jonas Constantine, who is just running a little bit ahead over there. Now, Pro and Pro-Ams really putting in a great show at the moment and not backing down from any complications as they will run line astern through the bottom hairpin. Cameron Bastos takes a look in his mirror. He sees these three brawling it out and wants to check out this fight as fast as possible and continues on. The closest fights currently on circuit, Jonas Constantine, John Jans van Rensburg and Malcolm Pringle are the drivers to keep an eye out for, along with the ASMI and Tim Penny, as we do see John Jans van Rensburg look towards the inside, trying to bait a move at the moment. Couldn't get that pass done, and Dustin now waits it out behind Jonas Constantine. Forces a little bit more understeer out of his car just by trying to go a little bit too quick through that right-hander. Immediately gets on the gas out of Indianapolis and charges down on the BMWs. This is where we saw those straight six turbochargers are able to really give the horns over the twin turbo four-cylinder of our Acura NSX. Once again, looks for the inside line through Porsche curves, couldn't quite take it. We'll have to just sit and wait. Frustration starting to build on the driver. Wesley Lewin now trying to make up a bit of time a little bit further back. He was trying to go after Yasser-Mai, and there is a bit of a problem. Yasser-Mai off circuit. Let's quickly go take a look. So Yasser-Mai against Tim Penny as they charge through into Indianapolis. What on earth happened to the Audi? Oh, big slide, big mistake, shot back towards the field, was able to save it, but now down the order he goes. Yasser-Mai going and catching a very, very wild Audi R8. We'll have to see how it all works out a little bit further down. Yassine Ismail going and running into a bit of a problem with his Porsche. This is up towards the Porsche curves. Oh, marbles through Porsche curves. Lost the car. Impact against the wall. Scrapes it on the way through. Unfortunately, that is going to be a tow back to pits if he just can't get the car out. Very, very dangerous situation. Thankfully, using the better judgment there, gets himself towed back to pits, and we'll have to see how it goes. Jonas Constantine into the pits. Wesley Lewin's opportunity. Is he going to follow suit? He does. Wesley Lewin dives into the pits, but it's going to be Joshua Syme who says no. He's going to keep going. He's going to keep pushing. He wants to try and get a little bit of a lead over the likes of Jonas and Wesley at the moment. So still putting on as much power as possible, looking to fight their way through. Further reports coming in that both Etienne Swart and Werner Swart rejoin the circuit. The brothers not out of the race as yet. They will continue to fight it out and continue to see it through to the end. Scoring points in their respective classes. Not as high as they would like, but still well deserved, chaps. Well deserved. Eugene Berryman, unfortunately, out of this race, will not be carrying on, along with Werner Skuman and Stephen Catebread out of the race as well. So we have got a number of drivers that will not be seeing the checkered flag here at Le Mans for round 2 of our iRacing GT3 series, the endurance part of our race. He said Heat 1 was 2 30-minute races, going and relying on brute force, high-speed sprint racing in through our first heat and second heat, where our top 5 was reversed. Our second, this is our endurance series part of it, where it's 80 minutes of pure racing to see if it can all work out in favor. Malcolm Pringle trying to get past Robbie Teens, gets a clean pass, and John Jans van Rensburg over the curbs as well, trying to just keep on the attack and really bottoming the car out. Robbie Teens using a little bit of better judgment, lifted off the gas and said, let you guys go. Don't want to fight them too hard into this. Want to rather keep them going and rather pull me along. Joshua Syme all over the back of Stephen Vessels, who was leading out of the field, pulled into the pits, did his pit stop, and now looks to try and continue his charge back up through the order. However, is losing a little bit of loss of time there as Joshua takes a dive up on the inside. The Aston Martin going and showing some great pace at the moment over the Ferrari 296, but here comes Stephen Vessels, gonna challenge him down at the hairpin, off the Mozon straight, sweeps across the nose, gets it done and dusted, locks it in through the right-hander, runs out a little wide, gets flat onto the gas and continues on the charge. Stephen Vessels more than happy to start opening up the gap yet again. So leader of the race at the moment is Cameron de Bastos, Malcolm Pringle, Jean-Jens van Rensburg, Janneman Price into that top 4. Jakob van der Lith, along with Sharks Ever, Jason Krinkers, George Reesloek, Randabel in 9th and 10th place. Currently sits with Paul Gerber. So some proper pace coming in from our drivers, looking to really get a little bit more towards the top, hoping for it all to work out and get a little bit more momentum. For our endurance side, there isn't a double in points. That is actually going towards our heat side. Gets double points versus our endurance. Endurance just provides a little bit of different racing, as our drivers from previous seasons enjoyed heat racing and some enjoyed the longer races. So to play a little bit of mixed match to those that are out there and wanting to know what on earth, why do we change the formats the way we do, having these variety of races from technical to our endurance setup, purely on the fact to try and give some variety to the championship, as well as go and test the drivers in each of the different ways and facets of racing here on the iRacing service, which is always great to have. So we got our technical format, which is 2 30-minute races. Our feature format is a 30-minute race with a 45-minute race. So it's a double heat there, a little bit longer. Endurance is a single 18-minute race. And the grand finale is going to be 95 minutes of out-and-out racing for our drivers to really sink their teeth in. Janneman Price, Paul Gerber, Loic Randabel all into the pits. Yaz Samai, Stephen Vessels, Joshua Sign all gaining a position and continuing on the charge. Robbie Teens dives into pit lane as well to try and get himself sorted out, and will be keeping a close eye. Now, Stephen Vessels, who pitted a little bit earlier, was the leader of the race. Now trying to get the climb back up through the field. He's lying 11th at the moment and still continues on. Joshua Sign yet to pull into the pits for his first pit stop and to do the all-4 tyre change. He keeps pressure on Stephen Vessels at current. He's got Jonas Constantine to keep an eye out for, who has done his pit stop, was leading out the Pro-Ams, now out into second place. Third place at the moment, Robbie Teens into pit lane along with Do Gerber, Duncan Roderick all into the pits. Willem Buerta going to continue on the charge. He's going to gain some positions here. Overall track position, going to be more than happy with that one. But the question is, Wesley Lewin is going to also keep the momentum going. Third place for him, and now trying to fight his way through the Pro-Am field. Wesley Lewin holding third place. Is it going to be his day to shine here at RaceFace.Pro to put himself out onto the podium? Yassin Ismail next to come by. We'll see Robbie Teens gets past him. Robbie just leaving pit lane. Now needs to generate heat quickly into those tires. He wants to close up the distance to Yassin Ismail, who is more than happy to keep going. And Daniel Gilding all over the back of him as well. Now Daniel is going to keep the pressure on. Look towards the inside. No room to make it past just as yet. Going to wait his way through down towards the Mozon chicane. Down the Mozon straight into the first chicane. Try and get that pass done and dusted. However, it's going to be a lot of hard work out there. Cameron de Bastos falling down the order. And Cameron de Bastos out in first place will be falling down the order once he does his pit stop. And that is going to be something to consider. Same as Malcolm Pringle and Jean-Jens van Rensburg as they continue to brawl it out with one another. 80 minutes, and they have a mandatory tyre change. Means that every single one of these drivers will have to think about their strategies. How can they warm up those tyres? Get them fired up early on in the race. We get closer to the 45-minute mark, where generally we see everyone go into the pits in the world of Assetto Corsa Competizione and run those 1 hour 20-minute races. However, for our iRacing drivers, they're going to be focusing on what do they need to do to make it work out in their favor. Tim Penny trying to make up a little bit of time. We are getting further reports that Werner Swart had a bit of an issue out on circuit. Let's quickly take a look and see what happened into Indianapolis. So Werner Swart trying to make it work. Sees there's a little bit of contact ahead. Oh, big impact, as it was a sudden slowdown from Tim Penny. And unfortunately, that was pretty much that for Werner Swart. Nose damage to that BMW, which is going to leave him going and aching at the moment to try and carry the momentum through. Michael Donaldson returns to the circuit after that little bit of contact with Loic Randall into Indianapolis. He's down in 9th position, trying to close up to Arno Kraus further up the road. A couple of drivers not having an easy time here tonight at RaceFace.Pro for our iRacing, but that being said, it's not done and dusted as yet. Cameron Bastos, unfortunately, slowed down on his part. We'll have to just take it nice and easy. We are getting further reports that Robbie Teens had a little bit of a problem as well. This is not what the nuts and bolts driver wants to see. Down off the chicane, down off of the Mozon straight. Oh, just as the rear spin out. Little clip against the wall, just a slight kiss. Was able to just get that car turned around, back out. Ooh, no, never mind. That is, that's pretty much cleaned out that car. Reversed it a bit too hard into the wall, damaging the rear suspension and towed back to pits. Nearly had it, unfortunately, just not able to make it work out in his favour. Malcolm Pringle and John Jans van Rensburg now continue on their charge to try and make up the time. So, our current standings: Cameron Bastos, Malcolm Pringle, Jean Jans van Rensburg, Jacques Tever, George Reyes is up into 5th position. And this is a driver that I have to say I'm rather impressed with. George Reyes up 29 positions, now keeps the pressure on Jacques Tever, trying to make this pass done and dust. It's going to be a lot of hard work though. Mustang has got some serious straight line, which Jacques is going to utilize. Middle of the circuit, George Reyes trying to go around the outside. The W2W driver late on the brakes, gets it done and dusted. Sunk it deep in there, and well done on a stellar drive out of the corner up into 4th place. That makes 30 positions gained since the start of the race and continues to try and open that gap even further. Take a look over to our virtual grandstands. Glenn McCauley going and inquiring about the point system. Hopefully we got to answer that one for you. And we've also got the ZA Badger going and calling in all the way from Twitch side, saying how's it to all the sim racers out here from around the world. Good to see so many different personalities coming and enjoying being a petrol head. The ASMI fights it out, trying to hold back Joshua Syme in that Aston Martin just ahead of them. They are trying to gain a little bit of time to the likes of Steven Vessels in that Ferrari. He was originally in 1st place. He pitted a little bit early, trying to see if it works out in his favor. However, it's going to be a tough race indeed for him. Jonas Constantine down in 2nd place of his class, up against the back of Jaco van der Lith, who is a Pro Division driver. Nose to tail they go, and Jonas not going to be going and losing out the time just as yet. A little bit of a bump draft down the main straight, heading into the hairpin. And it's going to be Jaco van der Lith late on the brakes, really stands on it as hard as possible. Slow that BMW down, slow it on the apex, forcing the likes of Jonas to go and just taper back behind him. Willem Buerta, unfortunately, running into a bit of a problem. That is a black flag and will be a drive-through penalty for Mr. Buerta in 14th position. And that is a gut-wrenching blow for him. Paul Gerber is going to be more than happy to take the position. Werner Swart, unfortunately, serving a drive-through as well. We'll have to try and get his car sorted out. And that, unfortunately, not going to be an easy time for the drivers to really go and swallow that pill. So as it stands at the moment, Malcolm Pringle, Jean Jans van Rensburg, Cameron de Bastos now in pit lane. So Pringle and van Rensburg gain 1st and 2nd. The question is, George Reyes, who is going to carry the momentum, puts in the fast lap time at 3:53.8 and charges ahead of Jacques Tever, who comes on by Jacques, going and seeing Cameron Bastos still parked in pit lane. Noah Hendricks is going to be the next driver to take a look. Tim Penny dives into pit lane. He's going to try and get it sorted out and return to the circuit as fast as possible. Steven Vessels opens up a little bit of time as he gets some pace towards the sharp end of the field. The ASMI will be following suit as Cameron Bastos, yet to get out of pit lane, charges out. Unfortunately, down in 8th place, and looks like he's going to be fighting it out against our Pro-Ams soon enough, as Joshua Syme and Jonas Constantine, who are making up a fair amount of time. Their lap times looking rather good. 3:55 356.7 was the best lap time for Jonas Constantine. A 356.2 on that last lap, despite being in a fight. Jonathan Price, a little bit further down, is in 10th position. He's trying to make up a little bit of time, and seeing that there is the fight of Jason Krinkers a little bit behind him, and Loic Randebel trying to close up the distance as well. So Jason continues on the momentum through the right-hander, late on the brakes, trying to get back into that top 10. Loic Randebel going to be giving it everything he's got. Got Robbie Teens ahead of him. Oh, contact with Robbie Teens. Loic Randebel going and having his nose broken, but unfortunately Robbie Teens put off into the weeds. Not how you want to be sorted out there, and unceremoniously gone and thrown off under the Dunlop Bridge. And here's another one, Wesley Lewin having a problem as well. What happened to Mr. Lewin for the CSA Racing team? Oh, just the Lamborghini snapped underneath him. Hard impact on the inside of that wall, and will be going and sporting a fair amount of damage, unfortunately, on that Lamborghini. Some tough racing out there, and it's all about trying to keep it going. It's all trying to focus your way through. Unfortunately, Robbie Teens, who is still out on the track, take my hat off to the chap. As much as it has been a tough race, he's still trying to keep the momentum and will be finishing this race come hell or high water. If you see the green, you got to see the checkered. Jakob Kutzer getting some major repair work done to his car as he's got the meatball flag. That is going to be eating into his time. Let's talk about a race that's happening ongoing with Yasin Ishmael and the likes of Daniel Gilding that are fighting one another. Two different classes. Ishmael out there in the Pro-Am class fighting against Daniel Gilding, who looks up on the inside. Couldn't quite get that pass done and dusted. We'll have to wait behind the Porsche. The Chevrolet, one that very few Chevs out. Sorry, this is Daniel Gilding's in a Ferrari. Apologies there. Daniel Gilding up against a Porsche of Yasin Ishmael, but there isn't very many Porsches out. Like Randebel, Yasin Ishmael, along with Duncan Roderick and Quincy Costa, being the only running at the moment Porsches, as unfortunately Eugene Berryman and Werner Skuman were not able to get it through to the end. Werner Buerta and Willem Buerta and Werner Swart both having to serve drive-through penalties are going to be feeling the pain during the course of their race on that one. At current though, as we see these two fight out for track position, everyone trying to really battle it out towards the sharp end of the order. Who's going to be able to gain this a little bit more time? Who's going to be able to fight a little bit further during the course of this race? It's going to be a tough one, as we do see Daniel Gilding once again looks towards the inside of Yasin Ishmael. Couldn't quite get that pass done. We'll have to wait yet again to see if he has got the toe to move up through the order. Malcolm Pringle, Sharks Ever, George Reyes all into the pits. Noah Hendricks dives into the pits. Stephen Vessels will retake the lead of the race with that early pit stop. Yes, Samai into the pits. Cameron De Bastos continues on the charge, trying to close up the gap. Yanis Constantine is leading out our Pro-Am field and will be going and putting himself right up towards the top, into the top 4 overall, which is incredible pace as he opens up the gap to the likes of Joshua Syme, our defending champion in the Pro-Ams, lying in second place. Jonathan Price down in 10th position at the moment, trying to make up just that little bit more pace. However, you will see Jacques Ever will be leaving pit lane. Noah Hendricks, Yasamai also trying to get themselves going before there is any issues and before they lose out on those top spots. So Vessels and Constantine lead out their respective classes with 53 minutes completed of this 1 hour 20-minute race here at Le Mans for round 2 of the RaceFace.Pro GT3 Championship. Everyone trying to dig that little bit deeper. Everyone trying to give it their absolute all. Daniel Gilding still putting the pressure on Yasin Ishmael. 2 different classes, I have to stress that. But honestly, some great racing and great sportsmanship between both drivers, giving enough room for both to make their way through the corners, not attacking too aggressively, but just enough to show their nose little by little. And another little fight that has been happening all race. Yas and Maya Noah Hendricks, who have been duking out with one another, have also dealt with Tim Penny in between them. Now Tim Penny out there in the shed, trying to get as much momentum as possible. Holds the inside line, gunning it, giving it everything he's got to try and close up the gap. Jason Krinkers all the way out from Germany fights against Janneman Price. The two Aston Martins now look to battle it out as well, as we're starting to get these little breakups of battles between Janneman Price, Jason Krinkers, along with Tim Penny, Yasser Mai, Daniel Gilding, and likes of Yasin Ishmael, who continue their brawl all throughout the race. Phenomenal to see each of the drivers pushing themselves that little bit more, trying to figure out that better game plan. What can they do to make it work out in their favor? And we are getting further reports from, unfortunately, a bit of an issue, and that is likes of Dino Chai, who landed off circuit. Let's quickly take a look at what happened to him. This is Dino under braking in the Ferrari. Did it snap underneath him? Took too much curb. Oh, and there is the snap. Oof, hard impact into the wall, damage to the front suspension. Seen a few of our drivers, unfortunately, that same problem. Just the rear snaps out underneath them, leaves them aimed towards the wall, creating a little bit of a problem for themselves and need to try and turn it around. As we go back to Yas and Mai and Tim Penny fighting it out. Tim a little bit later on the brakes there, try to get it to work out in his favor. He has carried the momentum to go through the hairpin, not too much of a problem, and continues on the drive as he makes his way through. Wesley Lewin fights out against Sergei Sarkov a little bit further up the road, and behind them they've got Daniel Gilding and Yasin Ishmael, who continue their fight. So little fights up and down through the field. That's working out. Michael Donaldson landing up with a bit of a problem and is out, unfortunately, getting some repair work done to his car. Not ideal circumstances for Donaldson, and once again, just a race to forget. Unfortunately, Michael Donaldson was just able to get his wheelbase back, so hasn't had as much time to practice as he would like. So let's quickly take a look at what was one of the problems. This is Willem Buerta getting past Michael Donaldson. Maybe we can just catch what that incident was. Doesn't look like it over there, as Donaldson had to tow back to pit. So whatever has incurred, unfortunately, Michael Donaldson dropping even further out of that top 10. Low roundabout, Noah Hendricks trying to fight their way through, as Janneman Price is going and staring in his rearview mirrors and seeing Lowe catching up, same as Jason Krinkers is up ahead of him. Noah Hendricks, Tim Penny, once again brawling it out with one another, and it looks like Noah Hendricks is going to have the better line heading into the chicane, but it is going to be Tim Penny to put the pressure on. Looks left, looks right, diving all over the show, trying to see where he can work out. Now caught between the teammates. Their Speedway Racing team will be leaning on the pressure here, saying, right, now we need to figure out what is going to be their advantage. Another fight for the podium in the Pro-Am. It is Yasin Ishmael with Wesley Lewin up ahead. Wesley dives into pit lane, and that is going to help out, as Yasin Ishmael will get into that top 3. He's going to be happy as can be, as Wesley Lewin, Daniel Gilding into the pits. So drivers now getting their final stops out of the way, trying to see where they can carry the momentum through, how it's all going to turn out for them. There's still so much time to be gained. There is still time to make up positions, but it's all about how much you're willing to cast caution to the wind, to stand up above them all, as we do see Tim Penny and the likes of Yas and Mai going and trying to close up that gap. Noah Hendricks stuck to the inside. He's not going to have too much of a fight there. Tim Penny gets the acceleration. He carries through, lanes on the brakes, and honestly, very, very late. He's able to outbrake both the Ferrari and the Audi into the first chicane down the Mozon straight. Great to see. He's got that car all dialed up, and being the only Chev in the field, showing that even though it's not the meta car to have, it's the car you need to take note of. Semi now closing up on his teammate, looking to try and figure out how can he get on by. Looked towards the outside, decided not. They will be on radio communication and talking to one another on how this race is going to turn out for them. So Steven Wessels still leads out the pro field along with John Jans van Rensburg in second place. Cameron Bastos up into third. Malcolm Pringle and George Reyes rounding out the top 5 for your pro field. But it's Jonas Constantine in 6th position that leads out the Pro-Am field. He's got the likes of Joshua Syme in 2nd place. Yassine Ishmael down in 3rd. Doe Herber up into 4th place. A steady climb for him. And Duncan Roderick trying to close up that gap. From Doe Herber not having the best time at the likes of Red Bull, he has really turned the whole luck around and is now getting the momentum here at Le Mans, working out in his favor. And to be in the top 4, eyeing out that podium a little bit further up. If anything has to happen to this Porsche, he would be taking that top spot. We are seeing a drive-through penalty coming in for Loic Randable, who will have to serve that before the end of the race. 20 minutes to go left in this race. Loic Randable needing to serve that drive-through penalty will lose track of Jonathan Price, but will bring him a bit closer and see Tim Penny, Noah Hendricks, Yaz Mai all trying to gain a little bit of time, and also Joshua Syme will be looking to get that little bit more momentum underneath him. Jakob van Lith down in 15th position, 13th in class, with Paul Herber aiming to get on by. So Loic, after that little bit of a climb every step of the way, unfortunately a few contacts, a few off tracks, now have put him on the back foot, and he will be going and kicking himself on that one and waiting to get back on the pits. He will slow it down to 50 kilometers an hour on that pit limiter, and here the roar of the engines come on by as we do see our 30th place car. That is Dina Machai going and opening up the gap for Semi and Noah Hendricks to come on by, and so is Tim Penny to really put the charge down, utilizing a little bit of that pit lane to just straighten up the corner for themselves. And it doesn't look like Yaz is doing the same with the Audi. He's not as aggressive on the charge. He's going to rather wait it out. Tim Penny gaining a position as Loic Randable dropping further down. Just here's the roar of the engines coming past little by little. And he has to sit waiting for his opportunity to get back on the loud pedal. Is he going to get out ahead of Jakob van Lith? Unfortunately, not the case. Paul Herber is going to be the next one to come on by. Loic Randable does get himself going, but now really needs to shape up that little bit of time to get back into the top 10. He's lying 15th overall, 13th in class, so 3 positions to climb in the pro. So he has to get past Jakob van Lith, Yaz Samai, and Noah Hendricks to get back into that top 10. However, it is not going to be an easy feat for the drivers. Tim Penny now defending like his life depends on it up against Noah Hendricks, as these two brawl it out a little bit further down the field, not backing down. Noah Hendricks is really ramping up the pressure, going for some really aggressive lines, trying to figure out where can he get past the chef. Goes and flicks to the outside, trying to carry a bit of momentum and sweep across the nose. Is it going to be enough? No, late under braking. Both were looking for the whites in each other's eyes. Both really left it to lastminute.com, but it was Tim Penny who was a little bit better on the brakes. The Chev was able to carry a lot more momentum through into the corner and stop the car on the apex to make it work out in his favor. Noah Hendricks going back to the drawing board here, trying to close up the distance. 18 minutes left of this race, and it's all to play for. Noah Hendricks, Tim Penny fighting out for 9th and 10th in class, and fighting out for 11th and 10th overall. This is still some great driving between them. Jonas Constantine closing up the gap to the likes of George Reyes, who's actually got to slow down by the looks of it, and trying to get rid of it as fast as possible. So they make their way into the right-hander, heading to Indianapolis. Constantine sees George Reyes, the W2W driver from Bolivia, still puts on a phenomenal show as it stands. Constantine not able to fire back as yet. Both drivers looking to give it their absolute all for the top 5. 2 different classes, however, it is for bragging rights right now for the likes of Jonas Constantine to get into that top 5, to show that he's here for a fight and he's here to race against the pros. Noah Hendricks and Tim Penny still continue on their feud as they get right up behind each other, looking for any advantage to get the pass done and dusted. Heading into Indianapolis, going to be late on the brakes for both drivers. Down to second gear. Noah Hendricks not able to get the drive needed to catch up to Tim Penny, who once again carries that little bit more momentum into the corners and continues on his way. Willem Buerta into pit lane, going and getting a pit stop done and dusted. We'll have Quinton Costa getting past him. So as it runs, drivers trying to figure out what can they do. We talk about most positions gained during the course of the race, and that has to go to George Heures at the moment, who's up 28 positions as Jonas Constantine comes on by. 28 positions for George Heures since the start of the race. For Joshua Simon, it's 23 positions. Loic Randebold's 20 positions since his climb. Unfortunately, that drive-through took away a couple of positions away from him, but still some great effort from each and every one of our drivers. 37 drivers started this race, and we have gone down the order to roughly 31 drivers left after the start. So a few drivers unable to see the cars through to the line after major damage early on in the race, and as we got to the halfway point, the car spinning out at the bottom of the Mozon Straight, also going and having those solid impacts up against the inside wall through our final left-right. As we do see Tim Penny and Noah Hendricks aim for the Dunlop Bridge now, each trying to get that little bit more momentum underneath him. Tim Penny and Noah Hendricks up against the bumper of one another, not backing down. Noah going and losing out a little bit of time around the outside. Tim going and drops down the order. So Yaz still has an opportunity here as he sees his teammate going and fighting. Wesley Lewin coming out of pit lane by the looks of it after a bit of a stop on his part. It's always grand to see. And there is Wesley Lewin out there in the Lamborghini for the CSA team. He's fighting out against the back of Doe Gerber. Doe, defensive, holds the outside line. He's going to try to go late on the break, both putting the squeeze on each other. And it is Wesley Lewin that gets the pass done. Doe Gerber fought tooth and nail, lost out the drive nearly as Daniel Gilding coming on by. As Daniel tried to capitalize on a mistake, couldn't get it sorted out. Doe Gerber put his elbows out, saying it's not going to happen here, buddy. You're going to have to earn it. As we do see Willem Pinot down in 32nd position, needing a bit of repair work to his car. Unfortunately, not going to be a quick fix, that is for sure, on his car. But Doe Gerber and Daniel Gilding now crossing swords. Doe Gerber 5th in the Pro-Am, trying to catch up to Wesley Lewin, who now took over 4th place. Daniel Gilding, 17th of our pros, continues on the charge to make his way up through the field. Jonas Constantine back up and fighting with Malcolm Pringle. Can't quite get the momentum into Indianapolis. Runs out a bit wide there. Slow the car down to a grinding halt. George Heures up ahead says thank you very much and continues on the charge. Now taking a look at some of the drivers here to see how's it all going. Unfortunately, Sean Symes out of the race. Can't see it through to the end, which is rather sad. Unfortunately, one of our earlier retirees during the course of it. So we got Willem Buerta, Werner Swart, Sean Symes, Jaco Kotze, Eugene Berryman, Stephen Capebread, and Werner Swart out of this race. Etienne Swart also going and being another one of the retirements. Willem Pinot going and needing to get his drive-through done and dusted, and is the last of the runners. Dion Machai still out on circuit, continues his bit of momentum, try and close out the gap. So still many fights out on circuit, many of the drivers trying to get that little bit more through, as there is only one spare car for them to utilize during the course of the season. So it's all about trying to keep it going to the very end. And unfortunately, if you do have enough damage to the car, that is your day done. And many of the drivers are starting to figure out this is now for keeps. There's no banging doors. There is only going and fighting your way through. Doe Gerber continues to hold back. Duncan Roderick at the moment 4th, 5th, and 6th in the Pro-Am field, and still continue on their charge. Noah Hendricks gains a little bit of time, and now has Tim Penny going and crawling all over the back of him. Look left, look right, can't see any way to get past just as yet, and that is allowing YSMI to come into the fray. Getting that a little bit closer, trying to see where the opportunity is going to work out, because, folks, we have got 11 minutes left of this race. 1 hour 20. This is a very, very long race for our drivers for this season, the endurance round of the championship, instead of the sprint formula that has been utilized in round 1, having 2 30-minute races. Next up from that is going to be a 45-minute race and a 30-minute race that they will have to contend with during the course of the season, just to add a little bit. But we are getting reports, yellow flags for Joshua Syme. Bad move for him. Unfortunately, the Aston Martin driver, 2nd place of our Pro-Am. Where did it all go wrong? Into the left-hander. Oh, Aston getting a horrible slide on the way through. Was able to just save the car and will continue on thundering. Not ideal for the tires, and that is going to be a bit of a cool down, as we do see a mistake from the likes of, was that no, that was another one of the Ferraris trying to make their way through. Try and get an idea who that exactly was, because Paul Herber and Sergei Sarkov made quick work of them, looking to try and get themselves going that little bit more. Paul Herber all over the back of Sergei Sarkov, gaining some time, hoping for it to work out in his favor. Sergei late on the brakes of the Aston Martin, dealing with the big mighty Mercedes AMG GT3 of Paul Herber, who gets out of shape coming through the exit of the first chicane down the Mozon straight. Not going to be too happy with that one. We'll have to claw back a little bit further. Noah Hendricks still keeping ahead of Tim Penny as they try and catch the likes of Yellow and Price up in 9th position. YSMI still continues on that charge, but still no answer for Steven Vessels, who leads out the field. Jean-Jens van Rensburg tried everything. He's nearly 10 seconds back, and Cameron Bastos a little bit further back, 3.2 seconds. Just not able to close the distance between them, and will be thinking, hang on, what do I need to do to make this work? Inas Constantine currently into the top 5. Still having a great run on his part out there in the BMW. A little bit of a wave on the tail, a bit of a flash of lights, just saying how's it to the crowd. Always good to see someone having a bit of fun out there. And also leads out his class. No fights coming in, as unfortunately Joshua Syme, just no answer for the mighty pace of that BMW at the moment. Tim Penny, we go back to him as he continues on the fight with the likes of Noah Hendricks. Jump on board, looks for the inside, late braking, couldn't quite get it to work out, stands on the gas yet again. Tim Penny not able to get the momentum through, will wait that little bit longer behind Noah Hendricks, looks to see if he can gain some time heading towards the Porsche curves. Into the toe he goes. It's going to be late on the brakes. Is he going to carry the momentum down into 5th? Holds on the throttle, keeping positive pressure on the diff, and now continues the chase. Lots and lots of mechanical grip in this car compared to the others, down to 4th, and carries even more momentum than the likes of Noah Hendricks ahead. That Ferrari 296 just not happy through the slower parts of the circuit. Will have to now get defensive, holds the inside line, and will stop Tim Penny from coming back at him. Tim cuts the corner quite aggressively there. Unfortunately, not working out in his favor as Noah Hendricks goes and parks it on the apex. Is not going to happen there. You need to work just that little bit harder and see where it all turns out. YSMI now continues on his charge, getting chased down by one of the Ferraris. That's one of our back markers, just keeping the pressure on. Dives towards the inside line, not able to get it done as yet as they try and make their way through. There is Jakob van der Lith down in 12th position. He's dealing with Joshua Syme, who's keeping pressure on him and looking to see if there's any opportunity to gain some positions here tonight to go and fight out for the championship. The defending champion has got a lot of hard work on his hands to make it work out in his favor. Yes, Amai and Tim Penny, once again, will be keeping a close eye on one another, but it's Yes Amai who aims to try and close up that 4-second gap to Tim Penny, who's got his teammate Noah Hendricks for a bit of company. Noah Hendricks holds the inside line, sweeps back to the outside, holds a good line in through the chicane. Beautifully done. Continues on the drive. A little bit further back, Sergei Sarkov now feeling the pressure. He's got Loic Randabel and the likes of Paul Gerber closing up the distance. And take a look, Loic looks for the inside of Sergei Sarkov. Can't really get the pass done. Tried to look around the outside yet again. Looks back, not able to get it done. Paul Gerber is going to have a tremendous run on both cars now that are defending. So he is just keeping into the slipstream. Sergei Sarkov going and losing out, and I think that he may has got a little bit of a track cut. He's just trying to slowly bleed off that time for the slowdown. This is now going to work in the favor of Loic Randabel to go around the outside. Can't really get it stuck in. Paul Gerber waits for his opportunity. Loic somehow makes the car stop, work, and go out of the corner. Gaining a position at the moment up into 14th. Pushes Sergei Sarkov back into Paul Gerber. These two have brawled it out last season, and I think we're going to see it all over again as now Sergei Sarkov tries to fire back at Loic Randabel. Looks around the outside, going to go late on the braking. Can't quite get it done. Runs up very, very wide. So does Loic Randabel. And here comes Paul Gerber up on the inside. Got the drive on both of them. He might be able to gain 2 positions in one corner. And he does slot back in behind Loic Randabel. And has Sergei Sarkov immediately tucked back underneath his rear wing, looking for any opportunity to come on by as they head towards the right-hander just before Indianapolis. Paul Gerber once again puts his nose out, looks for the pass to happen around Loic Randabel, who goes and defends that line. Says, no thank you, buddy, I'm going to keep it going. And Sergei Sarkov now chases down. But this is also pulling in another driver, 3rd place of our Pro-Am, Yasin Ismail, who now has an opportunity to go for a fight as well during the course of this race. Joshua Simon getting the pass on the likes of Jakob van der Linde will continue on his charge. Sergei Sarkov side by side with Paul Gerber, making their way towards the Porsche curve. It's going to be late on the brakes for both drivers, but ultimately it's going to be the likes of Sergei Sarkov having to back off, not having enough room to really sling it through the Porsche curves. A little clip on the wall. Now we'll have Yasin smelling blood in the water. Paul Gerber, once again, a solid defense. Unfortunately, runs out wide. And Sergei Sarkov gets a pass. Done and dusted. Loic Randabel losing out the drive as well. We'll see the likes of Sergei Sarkov. Paul tries for the inside line. Backs out of it. He does, however, let likes of Yasin Ismail. I do think possibly a slowdown came in there and unfortunately put him a little bit further down. So now that Sergei Sarkov loses the rear of the car, stops it dead in the circuit, he's able to return, but that put to bed his chance of racing for the top. So Paul Gerber now sets his target on Yasin Ismail, a little bit up the road, and Loic Randabel as well. A little bit too much power, not enough grip on those rears, and that was all she wrote. Duncan Roderick a little bit further down, fights out with Doe Gerber as the team try-hard drivers go and brawl it back and forth between one another for 5th and 6th of their positioning. Yaz Samai a little bit further up the road has the likes of Tim Penny closing up on Noah Hendricks, and Joshua Syme to now keep him a bit of company. So Joshua's going to figure out what is going to be the best opportunity here. Late on the break, can he get it done? He does so as the Pro-Am driver, not willing to wait that little bit longer. But back up towards the top, whereas we've got just under 2 minutes left of this race. In through Indianapolis, Steven Vessels leads out the charge. Cameron De Bastos, 2nd place in the pros. now deals with Jean-Janssen van Rensburg, a man on the mission to try and close the distance. Malcolm Pringle trying to close up the distance as well. So this is going to be an interesting fight for them to see who's going to be able to really keep on the gas no matter what. Loic Randabel and Yassine Ismail drag racing one another down the Mozon straight. Paul Herbert once again watching the two as the two Porsches cross lines with one another. Loic Randabel try to swing for the inside. He's got damage on that front nose and will have to try and figure out what is the game plan here to stay ahead. He hasn't got that top end to work out in his favor, and this is leaving him highly vulnerable to the likes of Paul Herbert and allows Yassine Ismail to open up the distance just that little bit more to continue on the charge as they fight their way through. Steven Vessels now making his way to the top. Will have one more lap to go when he crosses the line. So with 20 seconds left, Steven Vessels will start the final lap of the race, and all drivers will be noting it. Cameron de Bastos, Jean-Janssen van Rensburg, Jonas Constantine, likes of Joshua Syme and Yassine Ismail will try and figure out the big plan here. What do they need to do to make it work out in their favor, to walk away with the podiums here today? Loic Randabel going and landing up with a drive-through penalty for track cuts, and that is just going to play to bed what Paul Herbert wanted. Apply the pressure, wait for the mistakes, and then gain a position without too much of a brawl. For Loic Randabel, it's going to be, now I have to pull in the pits, I have to get this pit stop, this drive-through done and dusted, but I can also make life rather interesting. I don't have to just roll over and wait now. I can still push that little bit harder as there's time to be made up. As Sergei Sarkov, Jan Engelbrecht, and Daniel Gilding are the next positions that he wants to stay ahead of. So Paul Herbert once again applies the pressure through the Porsche curves, heading towards the Chevrolet chicane. Look towards the inside, no way to get by just as yet. We'll wait it out as we do see Loic runs out a bit wide. He's going to get the slowdown there that he has to serve as fast as possible, as he will be looking towards pit lane and does head in to get his drive-through done and dusted. Paul Herbert now sets his sights on Yassine Ismail, the Porsche just ahead of him in the play seat, yellow colors. Some difficult racing out there for our drivers. Some great racing for some. Unfortunately, others having crucial mistakes that have taken them out of the running. However, still fights ongoing around the circuit as Loic Randabel goes and serves his drive-through penalty. He will get out Sergei Sarkov. Unfortunately, now will be going and trying to figure out what is his next plan to march his way through. He gains a position up into 13th. Jan Engelbrecht gains a position. Daniel Gilding might not be close enough to capitalize on Loic Randabel in pit lane. And the question is Loic driving? No, Loic is actually come to a stop. Loic is retiring the car just before the end of the race due to that penalty. Not ideal circumstances for Loic Randabel. I think possibly came in a little bit too hot, and that landed up with an extra penalty added to his time. Steven Vessels makes his way through 1 hour and 20 minutes of racing. Round 2 of the RaceFace.Pro iRacing GT3 Championship. It's been waiting all this time to just see it through to the end, as we got another ongoing fight. Jaco van der Lip fights it out against Joshua Syme as they drag race down towards the second chicane. It is going to be Jaco van der Lip to make his way around, and Joshua just to try and keep the pressure on, see if there's possibly a chance to move up in overall position to 11th position. Making his way through the Porsche curves for the final time in anger. Steven Vessels has pulled a faultless race. An early pit stop to undercut the field. A great pace at the start, and will be smiling ear to ear. The team will be cheering on from the sidelines off the pit walls as coming down towards the last couple of corners. It's going to be a left. It's going to be a right, followed by a left into the final right. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, comes across. Steven Vessels will take the victory here at Le Mans for round 2 of the RaceFace.Pro GT3. And we are getting further reports that Yaz Semi unfortunately ran out of fuel. Cameron de Bastos will get second place for Team Together. And it is Sean Janssen van Rensburg that will take third place. But back down the order as Malcolm Pringle comes across the line. First place to the Pro-Am. He scored the victory. He charged his way through. Jonas Constantine, undefeated here at Le Mans, will come across the line and will be more than happy to get it done and dusted. Stopped just before the line, actually. Jonas Constantine just trying to wait to get going, and I think he wants to make this quite a photo finish. However, Jonas Constantine will be more than happy on taking the victory in the Pro-Am field. Joshua Syme, second place, gets ahead of Jaco van der Lith, and now just carries the momentum through as the likes of Jacques Evert, Jason Krinkers, Janeman Press all come on by, finishing up into that top 8. Noah Hendricks will finish up in 9th with Tim Penny in 10th position. But for 11th and 12th overall, Joshua Syme will keep the pressure on. He will keep the challenge on and will be able to fight for the championship another day, taking second place in the Pro-Am. Jaco van der Lith taking 10th in his class in the Pro Division. It's going to be third place for Yasser Nishmal for our Pro-Am field, smiling ear to ear on that one as he fought it out with Paul Gerber till the very end, finishing out in 14th position. Wesley Lewin, unfortunately, getting a drive-through penalty, will be falling down the order. Sergei Sarkov, Jan Engelbrecht, Yaz Samai, who has a fuel issue, is just trying to limp the car back and just hasn't got enough in the tank. He really just hasn't got enough in the tank to try and make it through. And that is it, unfortunately, for Yaz Samai, who just battled and did everything he could. Some clean running as the Audi R8 comes to a stop. Duncan Roderick, Doe Herbert, WJ Wilson, Loic Roundabout, Onno Kraus, Quinton Costa, all coming through and seeing it through to the end. Absolutely phenomenal racing from our drivers. Some close battles up and down through the field. Fortunately, a couple of drivers not able to see it through to the end as we wait to get our unofficial results here at Le Mans for our race. And honestly, what a stellar run it has been for each and every one of these drivers coming across the line at the legendary Le Mans circuit here for the second round of the RaceFace.Pro iRacing GT3 Championship. And honestly, it has been a night to remember. 80 minutes being the longest run, our endurance round, right after we had our technical at Red Bull Ring. So a bit of a difference in driving, a bit of a difference in planning, and all the drivers having to think outside the box, ultimately finishing up on the legendary endurance circuit of Le Mans in the night sky here in France. So as our drivers sorting themselves out, going to be diving into pit lane to embrace the pit crew, to say, hey, listen, we did it. We finished. It was a hard one. It was a different race. But ultimately, at the end, we fought our way through to the top. And despite all that has gone right and wrong, drivers continued to make it work out in their favor. So while we go and take a look at what happened, let's cut to a little bit of a replay of the start of the race, where 37 cars started out fighting for the top spots here at Le Mans. However, it came down to the last running order to see who was able to fight their way through, as we wait for our final results as well to come and go and show on screen. Drivers will be also making their way to the commentary box for a little bit of a chat on the race, give us a bit of an insight as well of what on earth happened during the course of this race, who was able to fight their way through. So let's take a look at some of the results, though. It was Steven Vessels that took the victory here in our Pro Division. Cameron Bastos and John Jans van Rensburg finishing up in third place. Malcolm Pringle, Jacques Ever, Jason Krinkers, Janeman Perez, Noah Hendricks, Tim Penny, Jakob van Lith, Paul Gerber, Sergei Sarkov, Jan Engelbrecht, Daniel Gilding, WJ Wilson, Loke Randabel, Yes M.I., George Reyes, along with Willem Bertha and Werner Swart, round out our top 20. Taking a look to our Pro-Am results, it was Janis Konstantin took the victory by 39.4 seconds over Joshua Syme in second place. Yasin Ishmael finishing up in third place with Duncan Roderick, Doug Herber finishing up into that top 5. Arno Kraus in 6th. Wesley Lewin, Robbie Teens, Quinton Costa in that top 10. 9th place with Michael Donaldson finishing up in 10th, despite thinking it was all over. Dino Machai, Willem Pinot, along with Etienne Swart, Sean Symes, along with Yako Kutzer, Eugene Berryman, and Stephen Cakebread, round out our pack. So while we're getting the drivers all sorted out, come and have a chat to us here after a spectacular race. It has been an interesting time indeed for everyone to give it everything they got. And let's see if we can bring in our drivers to come and have a chat to us and get a bit of an idea of what on earth happened during the course of this race. And I see that we have got our Pro-Ams waiting for us to come and have a chat to. Let's bring in the likes of Joshua Syme, who finished second place in the Pro-Ams. Joshua, welcome to the commentary box. And second place, congratulations. How are you feeling after the race there? A tough battle by the looks of it till the very end.
Yeah, very happy considering the technical issues I had and I couldn't do qualifying. So to start at the very back and finish second, I'm delighted with. Some really good fights, and I saved it going through the Porsche curves near the beginning of the race, and I thought, when it started going, I thought that's my race over, but thankfully avoided every wall in sight, thankfully. And then at the end there, had a really good few battles with some of the other drivers. Really close, really clean. Couldn't really ask for much more.
Well, you went and finished up 25 positions higher than when you started overall. I mean, that is a proper climb through the ranks, and actually is one of our highest climbs through all the racing. But take us through the start of the race, because it looked like it was quite frantic for you to get through the field and try and charge to the front, considering you are the defending champion of the Pro-Am class, and suddenly, Konstantin is right up fighting in the top 5.
Yeah, so as the race started, I think there was an incident literally as we were going through the chicanes. So that held me and I think one of the pro drivers up that started it from the back as well. So I ended up with a 4X from that straight away. And then it's just trying to find the right place to overtake on cold tyres is absolutely killer. Because you know in the back of your mind, if I push this too far, I'm taking 5 or 6 folk out with me. And then I think I had an incident with Stefan Cakebread going into Indianapolis. So I want to apologise for him. I look back at it, it looks like my car bounced off the curb, but it's not nice either way. So yeah, I can only apologise to him for that.
Well, always good to tip the hat and showing a bit of respect there. But Josh, you did a phenomenal drive. How confident are you feeling heading into round 3 now that you've gone past the technical format, you've gone past the endurance format? We're going to be heading out to Indianapolis Motor Speedway, where it's a double heat, 130 minutes and 145 minutes that you're going to have to contend with.
I'm looking forward to it. I like Indianapolis as a track. I think it's really good competition this year and up at the top in the Pro-Am division, so it's just keeping on my toes and sort of being aware of the drivers I'm actually fighting against, and then taking that into account. You don't always need to finish first, although as much as you'd like it, but as long as you can beat who you're fighting against, that's the aim really.
Well, it was still a tremendous run indeed. Joshua, before I let you go, anything you want to say to our amazing petrol heads out there in the virtual grandstands that have absolutely cheered on and really gone and sat through some of the tightest racing we have seen at the moment.
Yeah, thanks for all the sponsors and the league and everyone that takes part in it, as well as all the fans. It's a great, as always, that I say every time that I'm in here, it's a great league to be part of, and I couldn't recommend it enough. And yeah, just let's hopefully see out the rest of the season and see where things end up.
Absolutely great stuff. Joshua Sam finishing up in second place. Racing Sales showing what they can do. We're going to bring in third place of the Pro-Ams. A driver I don't think that I've had too many conversations with here in the commentary box. And we're going to bring in Yasin Ishmael to come and have a chat to us. Yasin, welcome to the commentary box. Well done on finally getting back onto the podium after a very long time. But you earned it this time around.
Yeah, thanks. That was it was quite the race. Initially, it started off really well, and then I think as the tires died off, I started losing control a bit in some of the corners. But wow, what a race! Yeah, I wish I could finish a bit higher, but I'll take the third.
Well, it was still a fight of note. You were battling out for some time with Paul Herber, with Loic Randabel, all going and just fighting at the end. What was racing through your thoughts now that you've got the pros around you? You're hanging on to a podium spot, but yet scoring 2 positions, maybe a little bit higher on the cards overall. What was going through your head during that whole big gaggle fight?
No, like so I just wanted to finish as high as possible. So when I saw that fight happening in front, I was like, okay, I'm not gonna overheat my tires. Let me just try and creep up behind these guys, and then send one down the inside. Hopefully, try and upset them and get that overtakes done. So yeah, it was really exciting at the end of the race, chasing them down, and also I had the prime seat there. That battling in front of me was epic.
Well, it was epic to see the playseat Porsche going and fighting their way through. And honestly, a difficult track with the conditions as they were. But anything you would like to say to everyone out there in the virtual grandstands, to all the sponsors that go and be part of the racing scene, but also to the drivers and teams you battled up and down through the field here tonight?
Yeah, I just want to say thank you to the sponsors. Again, great race here with RaceFace. So yeah, I just want to thank everyone for the awesome race, clean racing. It was really fun out there, and yeah, I'm really loving this endurance format. Like I'm finished now, so I'm gonna have a good rest after this. And yeah, thanks again, guys.
Well, looking forward to seeing you in round 3, where you're going to be handling a bit of a heat format, 30 minutes in the one and 45 minutes in the other around Indianapolis.
Oh yeah, I'm really looking forward to that. Let's see. I'm always aiming to finish as high as possible. So next race, I'll be going for the win there in Pro AM.
Perfect to see Sen Esmail finishing up in that 3rd place. But with that being said, there can only be one winner. And our winner was the likes of Yanis Constantine, finishing up 1st in the Pro. And Yanis, welcome to the commentary box. What a run from you. Charging up, fighting with the top 5 amongst the pros, fighting for 3rd and 2nd in the race, well leading out the Pro-Ams. Absolutely mental. How are you feeling after that one?
I can't say I really feel like very happy about it, because I did lose the podium, the overall podium, with the pit strategy. I think it was like I also told the other drivers, I made a strategy in like 30 seconds. I said, this is genius. This is gonna give me a lot of positions, and it turns out I actually lost positions. Maybe also the spin at the Porsche cars on the out lap on the second spin, maybe that affected it. But overall, I think I'm decently happy. I'm also getting moved to the pro class, so there's that. But I think I did well enough today.
It was still a phenomenal effort to see you going and fighting out. Now, while you're amongst the whole gaggle, the whole fight going on, were you concerned about your positioning as a pro-am, or was it more of you've just got cars around you, you're going to race everyone and see what works out?
Well, if I think I'm like faster than someone else, of course I'll race them. I think
Well, it was...
like the current system like kind of puts you in pro-am because you didn't do the qualifying. That's fair, but I think like seeing everyone else around me, I said, okay, yeah, I'm gonna race them because it just makes sense, than rather than limit like my lap by half a second to a second just because they're a different class.
Well, it was still fantastic to see you fight out at the top and take the victory in the Pro-Am. But anything you want to say to everyone out there in the virtual grandstands, to the drivers and teams that you're versing out on the circuit, and to all sponsors, RaceFace.Pro, before I let you go to enjoy the celebrations, and I'm looking forward to bringing you back for round 3.
Well, thank you. We'll see you around. We'll see you at Indianapolis, I think, right?
We're going to see you at Indianapolis. Congratulations, Jensen Constantine, getting the victory in the Pro-Am and top 5 overall. How's that for not a bad effort? Josh Hassan cut into the 11th position overall. But that being said, let's start bringing in our pros after an incredible run, starting off with the little Acura that could. Jean Jans van Rensburg to come and have a chat to us. Jean, welcome to the commentary box, and man, oh man, can we talk about that race? Because I don't think you had any breathing room around BMWs, around Ferraris. You were just brawling with everyone.
Listen, man, I think the biggest problem I had was my car. Being a racing driver, we will always blame anything but ourselves. So having to make some final adjustments, it was really just tiptoeing and driving on the knife edge. But yeah, Malcolm and I, we worked together to try and get away from the field, which helped unto a point. And then after the pit stop, obviously Cameron de Bastos very much kept me on my toes, and we had a lovely battle there. Unfortunately, I did get the less of it though.
Well, it was still interesting to see at one point you and your teammate were working together. Then Malcolm got a little bit excited, got past you, then you got past him. Did the red mist come down during the team orders of, okay, let's try and pull away through the field to, no, you shouldn't be ahead of me anymore?
Well, as Ventura Motorsport, we really stand as one, and there's no specific orders. The fastest driver gets preference. And I think what we just wanted to do is to try and get as best possible in laps to get a gap from the guys behind. And we had a nice buffer. Unfortunately, Malcolm did get a bit excited, both in the GTP race last week and this week. So I'm sure he's going to work on his throttle control from here on forward. But other than that, it's been a fun race.
Well, it was still great to see you going and brawling out, and also with a little car that has my heart. Anything you'd like to say to all the drivers, to the teams, to everyone out there in the virtual grandstands cheering you on, being part of the entire show, and just getting to see this awesome race and conclusion for round 2 of the RaceFace.Pro iRacing GT3 Championship?
Listen, man, I didn't find the interview room. It took me a while to get here, so next time please send me the coordinates. I have forgotten where it is. But yeah, in all seriousness, the new format is working lovely. I really enjoy it. As someone who's not fond of sprint racing, having something in between with 80-minute race was obviously a great change. The new format with qualifying is nice. Even though the previous format was great with how RaceFace worked, sometimes it's nice to have a bit of a change-up. And yeah, my advice to everybody in the grandstands is don't take the Acura. It's awful. But as drivers, we always want to put ourselves on a back foot and have an excuse if we ever need it. But other than that, yeah, thanks for what all of you guys are doing for us and keeping RaceFace going and improving it.
Absolutely great stuff. Jean Jans van Rensburg taking 3rd place for Ventura Motorsport and going 3rd place overall and for the pros. Let's bring in 2nd place, Cameron de Bastos from Team Heap Together. Cameron de Bastos, welcome to the commentary box. It's been a while seeing you out here on the podium. How are you feeling after that race?
Yeah, kind of tired, kind of sad, kind of happy. Mix of emotions, Stephen, really. Don't know very much.
Now, the Aston Martin working out in the favor, but it wasn't an easy start. Getting into a fight with likes of Jans van Rensburg, Malcolm Pringle, Jonas Constantine, it didn't look like it was going to be any easy task to maneuver your way around the drivers. However, it was risky moments that you were having to take during the course of the race. Was there any concern of outbraking yourself, landing up with a bit of a problem, hurting the tires, or running out of fuel during the course of this race?
Well, fuel wasn't really much of an issue. Tires was a bit on the back, but we did know that we had to do a mandatory pit stop for all the tires. So that wasn't very much. I knew I can use the tires best I can, even though I didn't very much. I saw during the stop, the pit stop, I didn't use much of them. As for, I knew I got pole at qualifying. I knew that's going to be difficult because my teammate then noted you don't really want to start pole at the mark because it's going to be slipstream. We had a good run at the start, but cold tires going into Indianapolis, braking was still there, but the rear just stepped out. Got lucky with not smashing the front end of the car. Had a bit of a tap, but I believe the Aston's like a tank. Didn't have any damage on it pretty much. Well, didn't use any fast repairs. But no, I just knew after that, okay, Cam, just focus, forget about trying to win and just try and get positions back. Good battle with everybody throughout the entire field, fighting back upwards. Not anything really, not people diving out the way. It's people fighting, and it's good fighting, and that's what I like. It made me work to get the positions, and yeah, not much stress, just hoping to maximize points today, especially on a circuit that I love as much.
Well, it was a phenomenal race indeed, but we look forward to Indianapolis as round 3. Anything you'd like to say to all the drivers, to the admin, to the teams, to the sponsors here at RaceFace.Pro, and most importantly, to all the spectators out there in the virtual grandstands that were cheering you guys on during the fight?
Well, yeah, as I'm going to go into commentating mode now here, but I really want to say thanks to our sponsors, Virtual Motorhead, Team SBR, Rhino Utility, Simulator Cave, EG Evolved. All they made it possible for this event hosting. The admins at RaceFace, the production crew, THT, yourself, Steve. Thanks for all the work that you guys are doing. And then thanks again for everybody out there really on the track. You guys make this fun. You guys make this event possible. Without you, this would not exist and we wouldn't have the chance to race. So really much thanks to everybody involved and thanks to every racer out there. And thanks to everybody in the grandstand for supporting and cheering us on every week as we put on this fun series, well, not fun series, as we put on this championship and just bring some good classic racing to your living rooms.
Absolutely wonderful stuff and great to see. Well done, Cameron Bastos from Team Heap Together, finishing up in second place here at Le Mans. But with that being said, there's only one winner and one winner overall and class winner, Stephen Vessels, going and taking the victory. Stephen, well done on a phenomenal race. That's going to be bolstering you up through the championship. How are you feeling after that?
Yeah, I'm happy. I enjoyed it. It was a good race. One big mistake that almost cost me the race, but I enjoyed it. It was fun.
Now, we've got to talk about you pulled away at the start, miles away of the group, but you did take one of the earliest pit stops that threw you mid-grid. Was there any concern that might have been the wrong thing, that you lost your whistle during this race?
Well, it wasn't by choice. I hit the wall in Porsche, so I had to go pit. So there was sand on the track. I went slightly wide, hit the wall, drove straight to the pits, quick repair. I knew I had some time in the bag, so I came back out. And I knew I had some time, and when the other guys get back on track, they're going to have cold tires. So yeah, so that kind of worked out. I mean, I got out just before Juan. He did a very long stint, saved a lot of fuel, so he had the shortest pit stop at the end there, but yeah, I still felt like I had enough pace to manage that. And yeah, it's a pity about Reyes having a DC in qualifying and then in the race again, because he was mega fast on this track. I think if he started up front, it would have been a different race, but you know, the DC is like a mechanical. It's one of those things, eh?
Unfortunately, one of those pain in the backsides that we have to deal with. Now, with the fight 2 points away from the likes of Heures in the championship, what's your game plan heading into round 3, where you've got to do a 30-minute and a 45-minute, so it's 2 different heats around Indianapolis, which is known to kill tires. It's known to really put drivers on the back foot and thinking, what do they need to do?
To be honest with you, I probably haven't run a single lap at Indianapolis this year, so I honestly can't tell you about tire conditions or setups or whatever. I will figure that out next week. Not next week, probably a week and a half from now. I'll do some laps. I've got some other leagues to focus on now, but yeah, I'm looking forward to it. It's going to be fun. It's nice. We're running some tracks that I don't normally run, so it's good fun.
Well, still epic to go and see you guys out on circuit. Before I let you go to enjoy the celebrations and spray the champagne, anything you'd like to say to anyone out there in the virtual grandstands, to our sponsors here at RaceFace.Pro, and to all the admins, drivers, and teams that were out on the circuit here tonight?
Yeah, I was just going to say the great race with all the guys. I mean, even the back markers, the blue flags, the little bit of racing that I got to do was all great. No one was, no one did anything silly. No one blocked you. So that was quite cool. And also thanks to my teammate Joppy, who didn't race tonight, but he managed to help me out with a bit of a pit wall. So that was quite great. Kept me company for almost 2 hours of doing the same corners. And yeah, no, it was great. And then thanks for everybody hosting. I mean, Cam and you guys for doing the commentating and adminning the league.
Absolutely wonderful stuff. It's absolutely wonderful to have you. Go and enjoy the celebrations. Well deserved. Stephen Vessels taking the victory here at Le Mans. And man, he's going to be whistling a tune of note till the very end. But ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, that does bring us to the end of our night. And it's honestly been an absolute wonderful time to have you guys out joining us here at RaceFace.Pro on some phenomenal racing. Next week, we're going to be kicking off with round 2 of our prototypes. GTP and LMP2 cars are going to be fighting it out. We're looking forward to seeing how that's all going to turn out. But if you don't want to miss out any of the racing here at RaceFace.Pro, we do have a variety of different sims being run, and especially being an off-season, we are going and enjoying some fun races on LMU and on Assetto Corsa Competizione. You can catch up with all of that out on SimGrid, or follow us on our social media on both X and Facebook to keep up to date with all the news here at RaceFace.Pro. But most importantly, we would like to say thank you very much to our sponsors, SBR, Rhino Utility, Virtual Motorhead, Simulator Cave, and EG Evolved for being a part of the show. It's been absolutely incredible to have them on board. We can't wait to see as things get faster and faster. But ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, most of everything, without you coming on every single week, joining and being a part of the show, giving us all the excitement and going and sharing the love, including some of the, giving the guys the gears, a massive, massive thank you to you out there in the virtual grandstands, the spectators that keep us fueled till the very end, unless you Yaz Hamai who runs out. Sorry, Yaz. It happens. But thank you very much to all of you out there on the pit wall. A massive thank you to all our admin working frantically in the background, along with our stewarding team. And we will see you next time right here on RaceFace.Pro. Make sure you hit the subscribe button along with that bell notification icon to not miss any racing coming up. 2 weeks' time, we're back in with some ACC GT3 endurance racing. You want to get yourself signed up for that. But ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, from myself, Stephen Koenig, and the entire THT Productions, we'd like to say thank you very much and enjoy the rest of your evening. And like always, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and good night, everybody.